Okay, so let's dive into all this stuff, all these articles, reports. They're all buzzing about AI,
Yeah.
about the hottest debates all around AI.
Yeah.
We're talking about everything like facial recognition tech and its legal battles to the future of jobs.
Right.
And even AI artwork, which is causing a lot of a stir, I guess, in the art world.
Yeah.
Get ready, because this is going to be fascinating.
It is.
A journey through this complex world of artificial intelligence.
What's so interesting is that these debates are happening like right now,
Right?
in real time.
Yeah.
It's not just theory anymore.
Yeah.
AI is impacting courtrooms, healthcare, even the art we create.
So let's start with facial recognition technology.
Yeah.
Like Clearview AI.
Mm-hmm.
Law enforcement thinks it's a valuable tool.
Yeah.
But privacy advocates are saying, whoa, 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 waving those red flags about the potential for misuse.
For sure.
It's this like tug of war.
Absolutely.
Between security and privacy, with all these new privacy laws popping up globally.
Yeah.
Trying to find that balance.
Exactly. And this tension between innovation and regulation, that's another major debate.
Yeah.
The EU is trying to set some guidelines with
Right.
its new AI Act,
Right.
aiming to ensure AI development is responsible. However, Silicon Valley saying it's too much.
Yeah.
It's too heavy-handed and could stifle progress. It's a classic clash
Right.
between, move fast and break things
Yep.
and proceed with caution.
Right.
Both sides have valid points.
Yeah. It's a high-stakes game for sure.
It is.
And speaking of high stakes,
Yeah.
how about the UN's discussions on banning lethal autonomous weapons?
Oh, yeah.
Robot soldiers making life-or-death decisions
Right.
on the battlefield.
Yeah.
It feels like a sci-fi movie.
It does, but
this is a real debate happening right now.
absolutely. And a chilling one.
Yeah.
Giving machines the power to kill
Yeah.
raises so many ethical and legal questions.
Like, who's accountable if an autonomous weapon malfunctions?
Right.
Can we even program a machine to understand, these complex battlefield scenarios?
Yeah.
And make ethical choices?
Truly ethical choices, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, for something a little less intense but still impactful,
Okay.
the future of work. A McKinsey report predicts AI will displace millions of jobs.
Right, millions.
But it will also create new ones.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily doomsday, but
Right.
it will definitely shake things up.
It's going to shake things up for sure.
Will we need a universal basic income
Yeah.
to support those who are left behind?
That's the question. That's a huge question.
It's a huge question.
Economists and policymakers are grappling with.
Yeah, and it's not just blue-collar jobs either.
No.
AI is like creeping into creative fields.
It is.
Even causing legal battles like Getty Images,
Yeah.
suing Stability AI
I saw that.
for copyright infringement
Yeah.
over AI-generated art.
Wild.
Whoa, so now we have to ask, is AI-generated art truly original?
Yeah.
Who owns the copyright?
Right.
Does the AI own it?
Does it?
The company that created the AI, or the artists whose work was used to train the AI?
Right.
It feels like we're living in a sci-fi novel.
I know. It's mind-blowing.
It really is.
And we're just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
These AI debates are only going to intensify
Okay.
as the technology keeps evolving.
So it's definitely a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
So before we dive deeper into the specific areas, let's take a step back.
Okay.
You've mentioned AGI a couple of times.
Yeah.
Could you explain what that is for our
Yeah.
listeners who might not be familiar with the term?
Of course, AGI stands for Artificial General Intelligence.
Okay.
It's basically the concept of AI that has the ability to understand, learn, and perform any intellectual task that a human being can.
So kind of like the AI we see in movies that can think for themselves and solve any problem.
Exactly. And that's where the debate gets even more heated.
Right.
You have some experts like LeCun
Okay.
who believe we're nowhere near achieving AGI.
Okay.
He argues that human intelligence is too complex
Right.
for us to replicate right now.
Okay, but then you have someone like Elon Musk
Right.
raising alarm bells about the potential dangers of AGI,
Yeah.
even comparing it to summoning a demon.
A demon, yeah.
So Musk's concerns highlight
Yeah.
the potential risks of creating something that surpasses human control.
Right.
It raises a fundamental question.
It does.
Even if we could achieve AGI,
Yeah.
should we?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it's definitely a mind-bending concept.
It is.
And so we're contemplating this like existential threat of super intelligent AI.
Right.
There are real-world issues unfolding right now.
Yeah, they are.
We touched on facial recognition and the AI Act earlier,
We did.
but I'd love to dig deeper into the specifics.
Yeah.
For example, what are the key points of contention
Yeah.
in the EU's AI Act?
One of the most debated aspects is this concept of high-risk AI systems.
Okay.
The Act designates certain AI applications, like those used in healthcare or law enforcement, as high risk,
Okay.
and subjects them to stricter regulations.
Okay.
These include requirements for data quality, transparency, and human oversight.
So it's about ensuring these systems are used responsibly
That's it.
and don't have unintended negative consequences.
Yeah.
But I imagine Silicon Valley has some concerns about that, right?
Yes, the tech industry argues that these regulations could stifle innovation and give an advantage to companies in countries with less strict rules.
Right.
They argue that a more flexible approach is needed to foster the development of beneficial AI technologies.
So it's like walking a tightrope.
It is.
Trying to balance the potential benefits of AI with the need to protect individuals and society from potential harm.
Exactly. And finding that balance is going to require ongoing dialogue and collaboration between policymakers, industry leaders, and the public.
Speaking of the public,
Yeah.
let's shift our focus to how AI is impacting everyday people.
Okay.
We talked about the potential for job displacement,
Right.
but there are also concerns about bias in algorithms.
You're right. Algorithmic bias is a major issue.
Okay.
Particularly in areas like criminal justice and lending.
Uh-huh.
If an AI system is trained on biased data, it can perpetuate and even amplify existing inequalities.
Can you give an example of how that might play out in the real world?
Imagine an AI system used by a bank to assess loan applications. If the data it's trained on reflects historical biases against certain groups, the system might unfairly deny loans to individuals from those groups, even if they are creditworthy.
That's a really concerning thought.
It is.
So what are some of the ways we can address this issue of algorithmic bias?
There are several approaches being explored.
Okay.
One is to carefully curate the data used to train AI systems, ensuring it's diverse and representative of the population it will be used on. Another is to develop algorithms specifically designed to detect and mitigate bias.
It sounds like a complex challenge.
It's complex, but it's crucial that we find solutions. Because algorithmic bias can have such a profound impact on people's lives.
It's not just about fairness. It's also about effectiveness.
It is.
If AI systems are biased, they won't be able to make accurate predictions or decisions, which could have negative consequences in areas like healthcare, education, and finance.
Exactly.
So it's really in everyone's best interest
to
address this issue.
For sure.
And before we move on, I want to circle back to the topic of AI-generative art, which I find incredibly intriguing. It raises so many questions about creativity and authorship.
It does.
What are some of the key arguments in the lawsuit between Getty Images and Stability AI?
Getty Images alleges that Stability AI infringed on their copyright by using their images to train its AI art generator without permission. They argue that this unauthorized use devalues their intellectual property and could harm the livelihoods of artists.
So it's essentially a debate about whether AI has the right to learn from existing art.
Exactly.
To create new art.
Yeah, and it raises a fundamental question.
Which is?
If an AI system can create art that is indistinguishable from human-created art, who owns the copyright? Does the AI own it, the company that created the AI, or the artist whose work was used to train the AI?
It's a mind-boggling question with no easy answers.
It is.
And it's just one example of how AI is blurring the lines between human and machine, forcing us to rethink long-held assumptions about creativity ownership, and even the nature of art itself.
Absolutely.
This is all incredibly fascinating.
It is.
And I feel like we've only just scratched the surface.
We have a lot more to talk about.
We do.
Yeah.
But before we delve deeper into these complex issues, I think it's time for a short break.
Okay.
We'll be back in a moment to continue our exploration of the hottest debate surrounding AI.
Sounds good. Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking about how AI is like blurring the lines and challenging our understanding of everything.
It's a lot to process.
It is.
And while we're like pondering these big picture questions, I can't help but wonder how all of this impacts us as like individuals.
Yeah.
I mean, AI seems so futuristic and abstract.
Right.
How is it actually affecting our lives right now?
You might be surprised to learn how deeply AI is already woken into the fabric of our daily lives.
Interesting.
Think about the personalized recommendations you get on streaming services or online shopping sites. That's AI at work.
Oh, right.
Analyzing your data to predict what you might like.
And what about those virtual assistants like Siri or Alexa? We talk to them like they're real people.
Exactly. Those are powered by AI too.
Wow.
They use natural language processing to
yeah.
understand what you're saying and respond in a way that feels conversational.
Okay.
And let's not forget about social media.
Right.
AI algorithms determine what posts you see in your feed,
Right.
tailoring your online experience.
It's a bit unsettling when you think about it.
Yeah.
Like, how much control do these algorithms really have over our lives?
It's a good question.
And what about the potential for manipulation?
That's a valid concern.
Yeah.
AI can be used to influence our opinions and behaviors, sometimes without us even realizing it.
Oh, wow.
For example, AI-powered advertising can target us with personalized messages designed to trigger specific emotions and ultimately get us to buy something.
It feels like we're constantly being nudged in certain directions by these invisible forces.
For sure.
So what can we do about it?
Yeah.
How can we be more aware of AI's influence?
Yeah.
And make sure it's being used ethically.
Awareness is the first step.
Okay.
The more you understand about how AI works and how it's being used, the better equipped you'll be to spot potential issues and make informed choices.
Okay.
For example, pay attention to how you're feeling when you're using social media.
Okay.
Are you feeling anxious or stressed?
Yeah.
If so, take a break and disconnect.
Right.
Remember, you have control over how much you engage with these technologies.
That's a good reminder.
Yeah.
It's easy to get swept up in the digital world and forget that we have choices.
Right.
But knowing what we know now about AI, it seems like we need to be more proactive.
We do.
In demanding ethical and responsible development.
Yeah.
Where do we even start?
It starts with having these conversations, talking about the potential benefits and risks of AI, the ethical considerations, and the kind of future we want to create with this technology.
So it's about raising awareness.
Yes.
And getting more people involved in the discussion.
Absolutely.
Okay, but what about the tech companies themselves?
Yeah.
Do they have a responsibility?
They do.
To ensure AI is used for good?
Absolutely. Tech companies have a huge role to play in shaping the future of AI.
Okay.
They need to prioritize ethical considerations in their design and development processes and be transparent about how their AI systems work.
But transparency is tricky, right?
It is.
I mean, these algorithms are incredibly complex.
They are.
How can we possibly understand what's going on under the hood?
It's a challenge, but it's not impossible.
Okay.
Tech companies can work with independent experts to audit their AI systems for bias and fairness and make the results of those audits public. They can also provide clear explanations of how their algorithms work in language that's accessible to everyone.
So it's about building trust and accountability.
Yeah, it is.
But it also sounds like we need some sort of regulatory framework.
We do.
To ensure these ethical guidelines are actually being followed.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the role of government in regulating AI?
Government regulation is essential, but it needs to be carefully crafted to avoid stifling innovation. The goal should be to strike a balance between encouraging the development of beneficial AI technologies while protecting individuals and society from potential harm.
That's a fine line to walk.
It is a fine line.
But it sounds like we need a multi-pronged approach.
Yes.
Public awareness, ethical guidelines for tech companies and government regulation.
Exactly. And it's not just about setting rules and regulations. It's about fostering a culture of responsible AI development where ethical considerations are at the forefront of every decision.
That's a powerful thought.
Yeah.
So it's not just about the technology itself.
No.
It's about the people who are creating it. And the choices they make.
Exactly. And that brings us back to the importance of education and critical thinking. The more we understand about AI, the better equipped we'll be to shape its development and ensure it's used for good.
You've given us so much to think about.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
But before we wrap up,
I
want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier about AI's impact on our emotional well-being.
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear more about that.
Sure.
How can we navigate the digital world in a way that's healthy and balanced?
It's important to be mindful of how much time you're spending online and what you're consuming. Set limits on your social media use. And be selective about the content you engage with. Focus on building real-world connections and activities that bring you joy and fulfillment. Remember, the digital world is just one aspect of your life. Don't let it consume you.
That's excellent advice.
Yeah.
It's easy to get sucked into the endless scroll. And forget to prioritize our own well-being.
It happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to disconnect. take breaks from technology.
Yeah.
Go for walks in nature.
Right.
Spend time with loved ones.
Yeah.
Nourishing your mental and emotional health is just as important as staying informed about AI.
You've given us so much to think about today.
I'm glad.
From the philosophical implications of AGI to the everyday ways AI is shaping our lives, this has been a truly fascinating deep dive.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Before we sign off,
okay,
I'd love to hear your final thoughts on the future of AI.
Okay.
Where do you see this technology heading?
That's a big question.
Yeah.
Well, AI is a powerful tool
Okay.
with the potential to revolutionize countless aspects of our lives.
Right.
It can help us solve some of the world's most pressing problems,
Okay.
from climate change to disease.
Uh-huh.
But it also comes with risks.
Right.
We need to be thoughtful and deliberate about how we develop and deploy AI.
Yeah.
Ensuring that it's used for good and not for harm.
So it's not about fearing AI or rejecting it outright?
No, not at all.
But rather about approaching it with a sense of responsibility and cautious optimism.
I like that cautious optimism.
Right.
Exactly. The future of AI is not predetermined.
Okay.
It's up to us to shape it.
Yeah.
And that's why these conversations are so important.
This has been an incredible conversation.
It has.
And I know our listeners are eager to share their thoughts and perspectives.
I hope so.
So before we sign off,
I
want to invite everyone to join the conversation in the comments below.
That would be great.
What are your biggest takeaways from our deep dive into all these AI debates? What surprised you?
Well, we covered so much.
I know, right?
From, the potential benefits of AI and things like healthcare and climate change to the ethical challenges posed by things like algorithmic bias and autonomous weapons.
Right.
It's clear that AI is complex.
It really is.
And has so many facets with no easy answers.
It's definitely a lot to wrap our heads around.
Yeah.
But I think the key takeaway for me is that the future of AI isn't something that's going to happen to us.
Right.
It's something we're all actively shaping through our choices and our actions.
I couldn't agree more.
Right.
Whether we realize it or not, we're all engaging with AI on a daily basis, from the apps we use to the news we consume. Yeah. And those choices, they have consequences.
So it's about being informed, being critical, and being engaged.
For sure.
We need to demand transparency from these tech companies.
Absolutely.
Hold our leaders accountable and educate ourselves about the potential impacts of AI.
It's not about fearing AI or rejecting it outright. It's about understanding its power and potential good and bad and working together to make sure that it's used to create a more just equitable and sustainable future.
Right. For everyone.
For everyone, exactly.
That's a great note to end on.
It is.
The future of AI is in our hand.
Yeah.
Let's use this knowledge wisely.
Let's do it.
And continue these important conversations.
Right, I agree.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of artificial intelligence.
It's fun.
Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.
Definitely.